All right, welcome everyone. Today's webinar, we're talking to Russell Clark from Licensed Renovations. Hi Russ, welcome to today's webinar.
Hi Marty.
And the focus on this month is pricing. So we're going to delve deep into what golden nuggets Russ can give us on how he and his team go about pricing jobs. So Russ, if you could give us a quick overview on your business and the type of work that you guys typically do in your company.
Okay, so yeah, hi, it's Russell Clark, Licensed Renovations. So I've got a renovation company, an Auckland-based renovation company, specialising 100% on renovations. We do anything from a $50,000 bathroom or less to $800,000-900,000 renovations. Our main work is probably around the 350.
Bigger size renos.
Yeah, renos, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And how many jobs would you typically do during a year, and how many would you price?
We'd probably do, we probably do 10 jobs a year, 10 major jobs a year.
Yep.
We have a bit of a different system when it comes to pricing, which goes right to our whole sales package, right from our preliminary budgets and we charge for our quotes, or charge for our pricing, so that you know, what I used to years ago is obviously jump at everything and price tenders. If someone wants a price, I do that. But over the years, I've learnt that that's not profitable, and it's certainly not the best way to do it.
So I understand if we go back a little bit, originally you had 3 QSs in your business and you used to do quotes for free. Can you just give us a quick synopsis on how that's changed from what you used to do to how you do it now and why?
So basically, I had another company previously, and 53 staff, 3 QSs, free quotes. So before you even start a job, there's $300,000 of free quotes you give out a year. So let alone get the job, make some money, you know, it's just costing you a fortune to actually recover. You know, your overheads are huge just having to price job because of the free quoting system. So what we do now is, you know, we changed that because it wasn't worth it. So we changed it, and we charge for our quotes basically. We charge for our experience and expertise in that field.
Sure.
So and what it means ideally is that we do less jobs for more money.
Sure.
And margins are greater.
Brilliant. And I presume if the client takes the quote, then you offset that against the price of the job, or you include it, and if they don't, then the fee stands.
Yeah, so we have a system where we do a preliminary budget. So based on the concept plan, it's our probably core value, because you're using experience as a price, as opposed to just pricing a job off a set of plan that an architect's built, and then you're just competing on price basically.
Yeah.
So we're competing on a lot more than price. But in a nutshell, yeah, we're just giving that expertise and advice. Make sure the plan fits the budget, because you know the plan is the budget at the end of the day. What they draw, we all buy the wood from Carter's or Bunnings or whatever, and the plan says it's 10 sheets of jib board, it's 5 bales of bats, and we price it.
Yep.
So the way we operate is slightly different. So yeah, which makes it way more profitable as well, and easier, you know.
Yeah. So there is a bit of concern from a lot of builders on getting stung over doing fixed price quotes, particularly on renovations, where you can't see maybe how complex or how big a particular part of a job is. So what are your thoughts on the pros and cons of charge up versus fixed price quotes?
Yeah, we'd rather do fixed price quotes as opposed to charge up. A lot of reasons. The client wants to know how much it's going to cost.
Yep. And
we can make more money.
Yep.
So one of the big things with the renovations we do, one of the key core things is actually getting on with your clients, and a lot of guys start off really well, and then by halfway through the job, at the end of the job, it's all gone pear-shaped.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a key thing. So for example, if you've got a fixed price and you're being inefficient with your labour or your timber or your waste on the site, or your smoko's too long, or any of those little iggly things, rather than the client worrying about it and getting stressed about it, they don't have to worry about it. It's your issue, it's your problem. So we find having a fixed price quote does make the client a lot more comfortable.
Sure. Okay. And just on that, how do you protect yourself? Like, how do you decide what to tag out And are there any other strategies that you use to protect yourself on fixed price quotes?
I'm pretty fortunate. We've got a very good quantity surveyor. So with our company, so I probably wouldn't be in business myself if I didn't have a quantity surveyor.
Sure.
That's myself, but everyone's a little bit different. I couldn't sit in front of a computer, all day and do that. So the key is actually getting the right person that can do that. Some of us do the pricing because no one else to do it. We're forced into do it. We think that's what we need to do. I personally can't do that myself. As far as tag outs, it's.
I think that's a great point. One of those key things is to decide, what do I love? What am I great at that energises me that I can do more? Because as you grow, you've got to decide what parts of the business am I going to stop doing, and you've obviously from an early stage figured that out.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know if you've ever been shopping with your wife and she walks into a dress shop and you sit there and I do the same, and all of a sudden I go, "Bleh." After about 30 seconds I just don't want to be there.
Yep.
I'm like that with pricing.
Yeah.
And I figured that out real early, and that's made a huge difference to my business.
Sure.
So exactly what you say, you do things that you're good at. If you genuinely enjoy things, genuinely you're going to be good at them, and it's going to become more profitable.
So just on that, before we jump into some of the specifics, what tips would you give to other builders looking to either take on board a QS or work with a QS for, getting pretty accurate and triangulating the price over a certain number of jobs?
The key obviously is getting the right person. The key really is, you've always talked about having people on the bus but getting them in the right seats. And that's the key too. I've had in the past guys that I've put in positions that were awful, but you change positions and they're just amazing. I do that now, That's the key, I think, is having those right people in the right, and that's right across the board.
Yep.
I've got a few apprentices and they're all completely different. One's really good at framing and really quick and efficient. One's really good at finishing. So it's, for me, it's always been a people business.
Yep.
And actually understanding the people in your company, to get the best out of them.
Sure. Okay, cool. Can you walk me through step by step your process for pricing from when an inquiry comes in to the whole way through?
So when we get an inquiry, basically get an inquiry and the initial step is on the phone. It's basically, asking a whole lot of questions on the phone, to save yourself a trip. I mean, I'm in Auckland. Auckland's a pretty big town. It can take you quite a lot of time through traffic to get anywhere. So basically asking questions on the phone first. Then if I decide to go out and do a free consultation, I'll go in there, chat about the job. Yeah, budget's the key. Never be scared to ask the budget.
Yeah,
simple
100%.
Never be scared. So you need to know the budget. You need to know that if they've got their own architect, they need to know that the architects asked the budget.
Yep.
So, and then from there, if we got design concept plans, we do a preliminary budget and we sell that service.
So what do you do just on that with matching the scope of works to the budget? If you go in and you can see looks like a 450k job and their budget is 300k, how do you go about moulding things?
I'll tell them. Simple as that.
Yep.
It is no point wasting your time. You're better off, if they don't want to listen to your expertise and your advice, move on to the next client.
Yep.
Because all you're going to do is someone thinks that their renovation might be worth 300, the plan says it's worth 450.
Yep.
The architect thinks it's only worth 300, he's drawn it, he's been paid.
Yep.
So the key is actually understanding the job. It's after a bit of time, you can really quickly go, well, yeah, that's a 300,000, that's a 400, that's a 500,000.
Yeah.
And have a discussion. The key is having those discussions early on with your client.
Yeah.
Because at that stage you're still competing against a whole lot of builders.
Yeah, and I guess part of that is having the confidence that next week there will be 4 or 5 leads coming in the week after. It's not, holy shit, I need this job at whatever price just to keep my guys busy.
Well, that's where you come into Marty with the lead side of things, but yeah, there's plenty of work out there. Yeah. But it's the key is to do the right work.
Yeah, 100%.
And the right work with actually what you're capable of doing as well. That can make a big difference.
For sure. Okay, so before I interrupt, if we could just go back to your step by step.
Yeah. So what we do is we have the first phone call, we go into a consultation, we'll introduce them to an architect if they need one, and obviously the architects that I use know our process. Yep. So that's really important,
Sure.
So the architects, they know our process, and I push their architect, they push my process.
Yeah.
So
right.
it's a real synergy going between ourselves and the architect, and then basically they do a concept plan. We'll sell our preliminary budget package, and we'll help them with that. So, for example, if your budget's 300 and we come back with a figure of 350, we can do one or two things: change the budget or change the scope. So we help our client with that. So the client's getting huge value.
Yep. Do you have an example of something that you've done recently or during the year of changing the scope or changing the budget? How do you go about
Yeah,
doing
I had one just recently, and it was a job in Ellerslie, and we had to try and reduce some money of the budget. And the architect, had drawn a wall moving, or 600 millimetre. This wall was moving 600 mil, a window, sorry, an opening, and it was a solid plastered wall. It was going to cost about close on $3,000 to move. It was a new lintel, exterior cladding, the whole cavity batten. There was a hose tap. There's all these things involved, and we did the preliminary budget. Came back with the figure, which was about $60,000 over what they wanted to spend. Came back, sat with the architect. We pointed all that was just one example. Pointed these things out, and I said to the architect, "How come we're moving how come we're moving that window 600 mil?" He said, "I thought we'd put the fridge there." Well, what if we put the fridge over there? Oh, that'll work. So just like that, save $2,800 because the architect. I'm not begging architects, but the architects just draw things.
Yeah. Yep.
We're trying to build things great, but also as a company, you want to put the whole pricing building thing has to be in all lining up.
For sure. So, just a few more ideas on charge up versus fixed price contracts.
Yeah, one thing I find with the obviously we do some tag outs. If we hit rock, or there may be asbestos, or there's some rot or things like that. So sometimes you get the situation. Every renovation is going to have a variation.
Yep.
Right. Absolutely. There will be a variation. So the thing is to cover yourself for variations. But also, although you cover yourself, you still also early days explain it to your client, so they know there will be a variation here. We actually don't know what just yet. We don't generally put a contingency in it for our work.
Okay.
Because that's a bit unknown, but we make the clients aware of there may be a variation in this area.
Sure.
So when it comes to that situation because we're experts, so when it comes to that situation, they've already sort of in the back of their mind know it's going to happen.
Okay.
Yep. So then we can pre-warn them, and then we'll deal with it at the time. Now, there's always a point of do we just do it on a charge up?
Yep.
But once again, I'd like to, if we can, do a fixed price. Because what happens when you do a variation on a charge up, generally it's just your hours and materials. So,
do you charge a higher rate for your variations?
Well, what happens sometimes, because we've got fixed price quotes, so they actually don't know our rates.
Right.
Because it's a fixed price, they don't have to know our hourly rates. And then all of a sudden when you do a fixed price charge up, all of a sudden you're disclosing your rates to your client, which is not, can sometimes be good or bad.
Yeah.
But what we basically do is we don't necessarily charge high rates because they are just our rates.
Yep.
But what gets left behind in a charge up on a renovation is that you end up on a variation is that you just end up with the material and labour.
Right.
But as a fixed price, what about the cost of the guy to do the variation? What about you're doing a small variation, all of a sudden the rubbish from that goes into the jumbo bin, which is part of your fixed price.
Yep. Scaffolding.
Your scaffold, someone uses your scaffolding or your insurances or your portal or an extra 3 days. So it makes it difficult. The client just sees you're doing you're putting that wall out, fixing some rot, and it's all these other things add up.
Yeah.
Sometimes the other point to note is sometimes I had a job recently where the electrician or the client got his own solar, did a whole lot of solar. But they're using all my scaffolding to put up their solar system.
Right.
Technically, I'm a fixed price job. I own that part. So where's my monetary? So there's a whole lot of things like that to consider. But sometimes it's a real technical, and you're a little bit unknown. It might be a real technical, bit of a tricky footing or something really tricky to do. Sure, charge up may be the best way to go. But if you're pretty confident what you're doing, I'd always ideally go to a fixed price because you potentially what it is, you can make some more money. There's no questions, it's done. And when you do a fixed price, you also do a fixed price, but you also do a time on there. So we don't have penalties on our jobs, but we do run a Gantt chart of a timeline.
Sure. Yep.
So at the end of the job, the client, I've had it before when the clients come back, oh wow, you took 7 days more, but you've had 14 days of extras, so it's really good to note it's not just all about money, it's about the whole timeline. is everything. There's more than just the money side of things.
We've had some builders be asked the question, hey, tell me what are your margins? And some of them have had that a couple of times this year and also last year. What's your thoughts on that, and what's some ways, around that or to address that if you do get asked that question?
Oh, make as much as you can. Margins, margins are an interesting thing because it depends. You can't just solely look on margins. So if I'm doing a job, my main margin and my main profit is off my labour.
Yep.
So for example, I may add on 10-15% on materials.
Yep.
So that's just which is a margin. And it may be 10-15% on my subcontractors. But if I've got a $15 an hour apprentice working for me and I charge them out at 30,
yep,
my margin's 100%.
Yep.
If I've got a
technical part, correction, it's 50% margin, 100% markup.
Okay, yep, cool. So, do you want me to say that again?
No, that's cool.
Okay, you got that. So, yeah, so the key is...
Oh, actually, we will say that again.
Yeah, okay.
So, talking about margins, if a builder might get asked, particularly if they're doing open book or charge up, tell me about what are your margins? What are some ways that you can address that either in the sales process, or how do you go about coping with that?
So, sorry mate, I lost you.
All good? Do you want me to ask it again?
Yeah mate, start again.
Okay. So some builders get asked, tell me about your margins. How would you go about addressing that, or what are some techniques or strategies people can use to combat that if that question should arise from a client?
Yeah, well, the first thing is to understand what a margin and markup is. And also for yourself is to understand where you're making your most profit.
Yep.
Because the markup and margin are all good, well and good, but if you have a job, for example, where it's 90% materials and your markup on materials is only, say, 10 or 15% and 10% labour, as opposed to the job where it's 90% labour and 10% materials, is a huge difference.
Yeah.
So it's understanding, where your profit lies. If you've got a $15 an hour apprentice on, and he's charged out at $30 an hour, you've got a 100% markup.
That's dead right.
So
50% margin.
50% margin. So, but your markup on materials, or your margin on materials, is only minimal.
100%.
So that can really throw it out. Someone says, "Oh wow, I've got a $100,000 job. Great, but what are the areas?" And this impacts on how we price as well. Because if I'm quoting against another builder, well, it goes right back earlier actually. How we quote, because we actually quote our job specifically for who may do the job.
Tell me more.
So, for example, if an inquiry comes in, first of all, how much work have you got on? So, do you need the job or not? If you're going to do it, you might as well do it well and make money out of it. So, also the type of job, so the skilled labour involved. So, you don't want a job that's going to take all your top builders. You need, or not. So, you don't want a job, but you got to pay them more. So, your margin and your markup on those guys is minimal. So the key for us is to look at each particular job at what skill levels involved. And break that into, we break that up into, do I need that skill level for 3 months or 4 months or whatever it may be. So we actually, can one highly skilled carpenter run 3 underskilled people? So it's to make that work basically. And what it actually does is that if my markup on let's say my young guys, my markup is 100%. He's charged at $30 an hour, and he's paid $15, but he's doing a $30 an hour job. That's great for my client because I can still make the same profit, and my price is lower. Sure. But if I then put my $55 or $50 an hour builder on there, doing that $30, my profit is lower. The client's price is higher. It's not a win-win. So and also I won't win the job because I'm going to be too expensive. So how do you allocate that out in the planning of the job? So I'm fortunate with my QS. Over time, over time we've made our own QSing program. Obviously there's others out there. But you
Sure.
need to use what's out there, but also
What works best?
what works
massage
best
it.
for you. And then it's basically having, when we price our jobs, we get our foreman involved.
Yep.
So we let our guys, before the job starts, we say, this is your job, we give them the plans and let them get involved with it. So that's they're accountable.
Brilliant. Walk me through how you do that. Is that broken down by stage or number of guys per days, or do you say, hey Bob, what do you think this whole job's going to take? Or do you go, here are the plans?
Yeah, so what it's basically all part of the upskilling. So we have our QS that does he gets all the quotes in for the labour and all the subcontractors, the subcontractors and all the materials, and then he puts a labour allocation to it.
Yep.
And then we get our foreman, so here's your plans, we give him a couple of weeks, have a look at this, come back with some questions, and also the labour compound. So we just get him to do the labour.
Sure.
So he works out, here's the plan, it's going to take 3 weeks for 2 guys, 2 labourers or apprentice, and basically work it out. Then we break that down to hours, and then we sit down there and we compare notes.
Fantastic. Yep.
And what we've found over a few months of doing it, or we've done it for a few years now, it's really interesting. And it's, typical builder thinks he can do something in an hour and generates 3, but over time they've worked out what's the actual.
Sure.
Yeah, so it just upskills them, and they're accountable too, and they're trying to, they try to keep to that task. But it's, at the end of the day, it's a really valuable tool. I'd really highly recommend it.
100%. And how do you then control your work in progress, or at the pricing stage look at, okay, we had a similar job 3 months ago, how do you work out what you should be pricing each stage at? Are you looking back, or are you what are you doing?
Yeah, the key is to look back.
Yep.
The key is to look back with anything. You even your labour, this type of job, the location, just if you can look back on everything, you're gonna see where you went wrong, basically.
Yeah, 100%.
Pull out the parts. Well, actually, then you can look back. Is it worth doing a job? Is it worth? Oh, I've got a bathroom job. Is it worth doing a bathroom job?
Yeah.
Well, a bathroom job, just use that as an example. There's bugger all labour. So there's plumber, sparky, gyps, topper, tiler, glass,
Right,
all that
right.
stuff, of which you're only making maybe 10 or 15% on.
And risk of scratching marble or granite bathtops, or?
Yeah, but also the liabilities you have on it. But
Yep.
just a huge amount of organisation. Have you charged enough for your organisation to do it? So, I'll obviously do a bathroom or renovation in my big package of doing a $200,000 or $300,000 renovation, but I don't specifically go out there to do if I had my own plumber and my company was set up differently and I had my own plumber and electrician, I probably may do that.
Sure.
But I don't choose to, because there's no labour, and I make the most money I make is off my own labour.
Awesome.
The most money I lose is off my own labour as well.
Yeah, true. So it's critical to control that work in progress.
Yeah, does that sound right?
What goes into your P&G? So what line items would you put into P&G? So some people put travel, insurance, project management. How do you allocate how much should be allocated for project management to a job? Can you shed some light on the mysteries of P&G?
Oh, probably can't. I'll give you a go though. So our P&G, we'll put in health and safety, because obviously nowadays you need health and safety packages.
Yep.
And things like that. Safety fence. Even our P&G, we put in things like any hireable items, tarpaulins,
Yep.
scaffold. We'll even put in, for example, concrete pump hireage.
Yep.
So we write down to the T. So when we do the job, work out how many times you need to pump hire.
Yep.
Now, pump hire might have failed an inspection because of an engineering fault or a council or something.
Yep.
So you need to know how many you've allowed. So if you need to add that on again, and that's a variation because of something that's nothing to do with you.
Sure.
There's things like that. We allow contract works insurance, limited liability insurance, so all those things in there. We sell that as a package. Our company's got a whole package for that we put as part of our, because in the day you want to know that you're insured.
Yes.
And if you just leave it up to a customer, and it's a good selling proposition too, to say, hey, well, by the way, we can come up and give you limited liability, contract works insurance, builder's risk insurance, all those things. And it makes the system, makes it easier. So rather than having to go back to your client, say, oh, you're going to need to get all these, we've got them all. Here you go. They're in your package.
100%. How do you work out how much to allocate to that budget for a project management fee? Do you take a percentage of the person's overall salary? Do you take number of hours that you think the project's going to go for? Or
we just basically look at the project as a whole of how much supervision is going to be needed.
Sure. Yep.
Basically, it's like like I talked before, a bathroom needs a way heap of supervision. But, you know, putting up jib or putting on ceiling battens doesn't. So it's just a matter of, you know, we allocate through the job. And once again, it goes back to historical data. Right at the end, did you make profit? Did it work well? Did you get the job? Did you sell it? All those sort of things.
And the project manager obviously puts in their times each week, how much they've spent on that job, and you do that in your back costing.
Yeah, so we don't actually run project managers as such. So we're a team of about 12 of us, and because what it does for me and my company, it keeps our overheads down. So our project manager, our site foreman, is a working site foreman. So we allocate per day. You know, we actually want them to not be on the tools knocking nails, and we want to do project managers as part of our, you know, there might be an hour a day, or whatever it may be, just on phone calls, calling the council, calling some of your suppliers. And
is that a typical ratio, like 1 hour a day for your foreman allocated to project management, or?
Yeah, pretty much. We allowed about an hour a day.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And is that charged out at a different rate, the project management fee, to say his foreman role?
No, we just keep we keep it all in. It's, you know, then obviously, yeah, the key for us is that preliminary budget. It goes right back to there.
Yep.
You know, because that's what gets our margins up, selling that price at the early stage.
Now, some building companies will price out, when they're working out the price, not so much it comes in at one price in a fixed price contract, but they'll work out, I've got the labour doing this for this amount of time, they've got the hammer hand at X dollars, they've got the chippy at Y dollars, the foreman at Z dollars, and some other companies will do it at, okay, I'm going to take an overall average charge out rate of $50 an hour, even though my hammer hand might be charged out at $30 and so forth. Do you do it one way or the other, and what are your thoughts on that?
So we basically do, obviously if it's a charge up, we have our different rates. And different rates, it's interesting because I've just recently, changed it a little while ago, because I used to have a cost for an apprentice.
Yep.
But a first year apprentice and a third or fourth year apprentice are totally different.
Right. Yep.
So you have to be careful, well not careful, you're aware of what you're charging. We basically have an overall rate that we charge out for everyone.
Yep. Okay, yeah. So different people at different rates, and you work out how long each of them's going to be.
No, yeah, we just basically have a medium rate.
Okay.
Yeah, that
so
just
you put it together and you
we
work
put it together
out
and boom, that's it.
$52.50 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. How do you account for overheads? How do you work out? Okay, cool. These are the raw costs of our materials, our sub-trades, our labour, etc., etc. And let's say that price was $400,000 in terms of cost to your business. How do you then work out what you should be adding on for overheads and what you should be making as a profit margin? Or do you just look at that cost and then go, hey, I want to make 25% markup, therefore I'm going to charge 500 grand. How do you split the overhead margin and the profit margin, or do you just work out an overall profit margin that you want to make?
We generally just work out an overall profit margin.
Okay.
And based on historical data of actually being able to do that type of job or do that job with a good profit.
Sure. And
then we work out if how efficient we can be with it to bring our margin up, because we're also in the market.
Yeah.
So you got to, it's actually trying to sell your experience and value at your early stage, but you're still in the market. You can't just you can't walk out there and say, oh, I want to make $200,000. Your $300,000 job, I'm going to make it 500 now. So you're still in the market. So it's just a feeling out process really of, and sometimes I'll go to my QS, he'll come back and go, here you go, and I go, oh, actually I've got a really, really good feeling with this job and I really love the clients. Can we just whap another 10 grand on there?
Sure. Yeah.
So a lot of it I do, or I'm the salesperson, so I think, I reckon I can nail a bit more out of that.
Cool.
It'd be great.
Do you set a minimum margin? Because there's obviously different margins for types of work, and the typical ones that we've seen over the years are commercial, typically runs a bit lower, but you've got more guys on site, bigger jobs, and they might be anywhere from, I've heard as low as 8% this morning with a client that I was talking with, up to maybe 15 to 18% on commercial. And then you'll have new builds that typically might be in the 15 to 24%, depending on whether you're a group housing company, whether you're doing an architectural new build. But in renos and leakies, typically 25 to whatever you can get. In renos, what do you have a target margin that you're aiming for overall, and is that 20, 25 or? Where do you
Well, we have different margins that we put in, but it also depends on the size of the job.
And
it's
the
key.
composition, as you said earlier, between labour and...
But a lot of the size of the job, if you're doing I've just done an $800,000 job, so if you're making 15% margin on that, that's great.
Sure.
Well, we actually run it at 24%, which was really cool. Yeah. So, really good efficient job. Or you might have a job that's, a smaller job, so you want more margin.
Sure, 100%.
There's no point in doing it.
Exactly, you did right. So how long would it take, let's say you've got a $300,000 reno on a villa, how many hours typically would it take to price that job? Like, do you have a range of...
Oh, I don't exactly know the answer to that, but it's probably close on a good week's work.
Wow, it's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot. That's why you can't do it for nothing. Because at the end of the day, I was spoken to someone the other day. We're talking about a retaining wall, for example. Can you put a metre rate to a retaining wall? Which you possibly can, but if on a renovation, is there what's the soil like? Is there site access? Do you need the road closures? Can you get the digger down? Is it done by hand? How do you get the concrete pump in? So all these things are renovations. Every little thing is going to have its own variance on it. So you have to be really vigilant and detailed as what you're actually pricing.
Yeah, 100%. Now, some building company owners see variations as a pain in the butt and the bane of their life, and I know that you've got quite a different perspective on it, that you see it as a massive opportunity for upselling and cross-selling. So can you just walk me through a little bit on your ideology and your process from when a variation does raise its or rear its head? Yeah,
so variations are awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And years ago, I remember my mate, he'd say, oh, they're bloody pain, but no, they're great, because that's where I'm making maximum money.
Awesome. Yeah.
Really good, and the basic, because with a variation, first of all, it's like I said before, it's preconditioning your client to a possible variation.
Yep.
So that makes it easier. Don't be scared to put it there and charge for one, because that's your right to do that if it's a variation. There's two types of variations. One is that the client says, hey, look, can I make a door there instead of a window, or can I tile the bathroom walls now and you don't allow the floor? Or the other variation is that you come across one of those tag outs, oh, we found some rot. There's two types of variations, but they're still variations. So I suppose the key is to make money out of them. Yep. They're cool. And don't be scared to charge. So if you do a variation, generally you're going to charge retail plus.
Yeah.
And as long as you do your systems right and you charge for all those other bits and pieces, present it in a really good manner, because depending on the size of the variation, I sometimes get involved myself. Yep. Because the variation really is also a sales point.
Yep.
I personally don't just send it over on an email.
Yep.
Depending on the size of it. I mean, I've recently had a $12,000 variation, for example. Right. I understand, signed off, bang. Nothing to do with us, council and geotech and all that sort of stuff. But I think the key is that the variations are good. Charge for them. If a client's doing a variation, if a client wants to change something and it's a little bit too dear, they're not going to go down the road and get another builder to come and do that while they're halfway through your job.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So then it becomes a bit of a sales thing, which Marty probably can teach you a bit more about. So, wow, it's going to look wonderful. So you need to sell that variation as well if they're in two minds. Well, but also sometimes in a variation we try not to do it.
Right.
And rare occasions, because if it might be something, I don't know, a special window, and it might take 6 weeks to make, which is a real pain for me. So although I'm getting paid for it, it could be a real drag on. So it's just looking at those variations in perspective, really.
Cool. And lastly, Russ, what have been your biggest lessons in pricing over your building career? If you had to share your top 3 golden nuggets, what would they be?
We'll have to think about that. Top 3. Don't do it myself.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So do what you're good at. Do what you enjoy.
Yeah. Absolutely. But still know it.
Right.
Don't rely on it. It's like all these systems you have in place, which is just absolutely fantastic, but you need to know how to do it first before the system comes in place.
100%.
Always check it.
Yep.
Things are changing.
Number 1, don't do it if you don't like it. Number 2, check it. So what checks and balances do you have in place in your business to check the price?
I mean, just silly things like, for example, I've got some really great apprentices and other builders. So when I put they always coming to me for pay rises as they do more booked. So it's very imperative that my quantity surveyor knows that my guys have got pay rises.
Yep, sure.
They need to know what my rates are. If I've hired a new builder on, for example, what's the rate?
Yep.
So he needs to know all that information. You need to know, what can he what's his skill and what can they be charged out at?
Do you have a checklist or anything that you're checking it off with the QS at the end of it, or are you with them at certain stages as it goes through the pricing process? How do you do that?
I go through. He does the whole takeoff for me. Does everything, but I mainly check the grammar. To be fair.
Okay. Yep.
Now it might seem funny, but I've lost money before because it said replace the door or replace the doors.
Right. Yep.
One little mistake can cost. I know of a builder friend of mine lost $70,000. Yeah, $70,000 on a glass handrail. That had one little mistake.
Wow.
Court of law, couldn't get out of it.
Wow.
What you do supply, what you don't. So one of the big things when we're doing our pricing, just off the subject a little bit, is actually our exclusions. So we talk about our tag outs for rock and that, but there is huge amount of exclusions, and I didn't really go too much into it last time, but the exclusion for, maybe wardrobe organisers.
Right.
Yeah, what about floor coverings?
Yep.
We even exclude putting up putting up your toilet roll holder and your hand basin things and bits and pieces like that, your accessories. That seems like that's a bit crazy. I've had it before when you've gone into, you're doing a toilet roll holder and a hand towel and a toothbrush, all these things into marble and stuff like that. You might have another day's work. There's another $500 odd just to do all that stuff. It's all part of your profit. And at the time, we'll just exclude that. Why do you exclude that? Oh, well, you haven't bought it yet, and how many are you going to put in? So it becomes very easy part of the salesperson to exclude it.
Okay, so we've got number one, don't do it.
Yep.
Or do it if you're great at it and you love it. Number two, have checks and balances in place to check how you're going. Any other big golden nuggets that spring to mind that you've learnt through pricing over the years?
Probably the biggest thing is back yourself. We are professional, qualified builders. We're professional. We're not just a builder in a van eating a pie with a dog nowadays. This is it's a big thing what we're doing now.
Yep.
Treat yourself with respect and professionalism, and actually don't be scared to charge.
Yep.
Charge for your knowledge and your skill. That's probably my biggest advice.
Yeah. Awesome, my man. It's been fantastic having you on today, Russ.
Thank you, sir.
Look forward to talking to you soon, and all the best with business. I hear it's cranking out there in the market, and we'll be back with Russ in a wee while shortly. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, thanks.